The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
This is Orioles Preview on ESPN 630, presented by Sprinkler Fitters Local 669, saving lives and protecting property for over 100 years. The Orioles wrap up their series with Boston tonight. It's the rubber game of the series after winning 5-3 last night. It's a 7 o'clock start. Coverage here on ESPN 630 will get underway at 6:30 tonight as the Orioles look to pick up more ground on the Yankees. The margin is a half game, with the Yankees getting shut out by Kansas City last night and the Orioles winning. And we're joined now by Catie Griggs, who is the new president of business operations for the Orioles, to promote what's coming up, not this weekend, but the following weekend when we have Fan Appreciation Weekend. And, you know, Catie, I had to look at the calendar because it just seems like it's just too early in the month for the last home series to come up. But I guess that's the way the schedule worked out this year. And here we're going to wrap up all the home regular season games. That's important to point out. The regular season games fairly early in the month. Were you kind of caught off guard with that, given that, you've kind of just started this job?
I think it's always fun to be able to have our fans out at the ballpark. So every weekend gets to be Fan Appreciation Weekend. But, yeah, this one's a little bit early, but we're in for some exciting baseball. To your point, we are neck and neck with the Yankees. We've got a series against them in that final week on the road. There should be fireworks literally on Friday, but the entire series at home as the team's out there fighting for that AL East pennant.
Yeah, no, it's been really incredible the way that each team has had the opportunity to kind of seize control of the division, hasn't been able to do it. So this is like old times. Both teams will be in the playoffs, but the old what we used to call a pennant race is happening for the division. What are some of the activities that are going to be going on for Fan Appreciation Weekend? It's a series against the Tigers from September 20th to the 22nd.
Yeah, no, we're hoping to have a great crowd show up and support the guys, bring the energy, bring the noise. But Friday night after the games, we'll have a post-game fireworks show, which is incredibly fun. It's a good way to start the weekend. Saturday, we've done our Henderson T-shirt. It's going to be going out to 20,000 fans, so that obviously should be a lot of fun. He's playing incredibly well, and so getting to represent him is pretty fun. And then Sunday, we recognize it's the fall. Hopefully you need something to wear. Should we get the opportunity to host some posting games here at Oriole Park, and we've got a crew neck sweatshirt coming out for that one as well.
Oh yeah, that's a great feeling when it gets to be sweatshirt weather in the fall. We're talking to Catie Griggs, who comes to the Orioles after a run in Seattle. You and my son kind of passing like ships in the night. My son just moved out there with his wife and is a teacher out there. But one of the things that you were involved with the Mariners was hosting an All-Star game. And I'm kind of curious about this because it's been 31 years since the Orioles hosted an All-Star game. It's one of the great ballparks in the major leagues. Do you know about anything that's in the works to try and get the All-Star game back there?
I think it's something that we would all very much like to have the opportunity to bring back to Baltimore. To your point, it's been a long time. We've got an incredible ballpark. We've got some exciting plans over the next few years to continue to improve and build upon the incredible history that this ballpark has. And we want to celebrate this city. We want to celebrate this park, and we're very excited to have the opportunity to have those conversations with Major League Baseball and hopefully get something to happen. What's
the procedure on that? Do you submit an application? How does it work that if you want to host an All-Star game?
There is an application, but it's more than just a club. It really is an event that's a celebration of an entire city and an entire region. So it's working together with our partners in the public and private sector to really talk through all of the ways in which Baltimore can support an event. Because needless to say, there are incredible events that can and hopefully will happen here at Camden Yards, but it really is about celebrating baseball and softball in the community throughout. And so we'll be working with friends across the entire city and the entire region to get to Major League Baseball and help them understand exactly what it would look like and how incredible this city would be as a host for a future event.
And timeline, realistically, could this happen in the next 5 years?
I think it could happen in the next 5 years. The next couple, they've already named the teams that'll be doing it. So we're looking out probably at the back half of the 2020s. But no, I think this is not something where we need to be waiting a decade for this to happen. And I certainly hope to have the opportunity to do it before then.
Any early thoughts on East Coast baseball versus West Coast baseball, which you've been involved with for a while?
I grew up on the East Coast, so I'm closer to home now. So I've had the opportunity of spending a lot of time actually watching AL East baseball, and I am thrilled to be back. I mean, we've got incredible fans. The fact that you're so close to the other teams and you've got that energy inside the ballpark really does feed off of itself. And this is a market that has such history.
Yeah.
Truly, when you're looking at this ballpark, when you're looking at the role that this club has played and what it has meant to the community over time, I know that we've had some hard years in the past. This is a great young team. Ownership is excited. They are committed to this city, and we are really, really looking forward to having an opportunity to showcase and, hopefully win some ball games.
I think one of the great things about watching a home Orioles game these days is seeing Cal Ripken and his wife sitting behind the plate. Pretty much the living history of the Orioles with his dad and his brother. I mean, that you think of Oriole baseball, he's the first name that comes to mind, and that's got to be a great feel having him out there. And I think didn't he sit in the section where they hose people down after runs? Wasn't he in there the other night?
He was. Cal was representing his Iron Splash the other evening.
Yeah.
But no, you're exactly right. I mean, this is, to your point, Cal and his family have played such an incredible role in this club, and being able to welcome him and them back to the ballpark and really have them be a part of this group, it's meaningful. It's important, and it speaks to not only the connection with the past, but also his buy-in to where the vision is for where we're going looking ahead.
Absolutely. Great to talk to you. Best of luck with Fan Appreciation Weekend, and go Birds.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you out here.
Okay, that's Catie Griggs, who is the new president of business operations for the Orioles. A good story today in the Post from Chelsea James about this next step for the Orioles. It's not all smooth sailing. They had 100 wins last year, and then they got swept by Texas in the playoffs after not getting swept in a regular season series all year long. And she points out all the things that they are dealing with, including injuries, which are things that you don't count on. And she talks about the reality as they limp towards October, the time when these Orioles were supposed to make their next great leap. Injuries, unexpected underperformance, and a constant stream of uncomfortable roster decisions have turned the latter months of the season into a test, the one thing the numbers and coaching and calculation could not prognosticate. The mettle of a young core bred to win is both at risk of missing the 2024 opportunity after being deadlocked with the Yankees atop the American League East for months, and is still in a position to seize it. Now, as I say, a half game back, the Orioles entered 2024 without elite closer Felix Bautista, who underwent Tommy John surgery last fall. Then they lost starters Kyle Bradish, John Means, and Tyler Wells to elbow surgeries this spring. Starter Dean Kramer and relievers Danny Kalum, Jacob Webb, and CNL Perez were out for lengthy stretches. Grayson Rodriguez missed a few weeks with shoulder trouble earlier this season and is back on the injured list, where he's been since early August. Infielder Jorge Mateo suffered a gruesome arm injury that eventually required surgery. Outfielder Heston Kjerstad is out with concussion after being hit in the head with a pitch. Jordan Westberg, who had established himself as a steady and clutch producer in his first full season as a starter, broke his wrist when he was hit by a pitch. Until Bautista suffered his injury late last season, Baltimore had stayed relatively healthy since May of 2022, when Adley Rutschman's call-up began a stretch of winning that was never totally abated. But the injuries have made the unfamiliar struggles of key Orioles more glaring. And then she talks about Adley Rutschman, who did have a big hit last night, drove in a couple of runs, but he came into last night hitting .204, and his career average is .263. I think some of it maybe he's in the lineup every day, rarely takes a day off, catches some DH. Maybe that's catching up with him. Who knows? But he did go through an extended slump. And then their best starter, the ace of the staff, Corbin Burns, who started the All-Star game, since then his ERA is 4.76. So that's been a problem. Then the closing issue, without Bautista, they tried Craig Kimbrell. They won't be able to count on him. Then the Orioles turned to Yanier Cano and a trade deadline acquisition of Sir Anthony Dominguez. But Kimbrell is now pitching to a 7.71 ERA in the second half. So, they thought they had this nailed down with two pitchers in Corbin Burns and Kimbrell, And in the second half, they have both struggled. And so last week, as she points out, there were 11 players on the Orioles roster who were not in the organization to start the season. And that was the storyline of last year, that they were winning with guys that they had acquired in the draft. They had all come through the minor leagues together, the closeness that they had achieved, and now that seems to be gone. I will say this, though. With all that I outlined there, they're still only a half game out of first place. And as we know, certainly from Washington, when they made it into the playoffs as a wild card team in 2019 and were trailing the Milwaukee Brewers at home and managed to come from behind and win, it just takes something like that to get you ignited in the playoffs, and who knows what's going to happen. Coming up, we'll hear from Brandon Hyde and also Cedric Mullins, who had a couple of home runs last night in their win. Plus, nice story from Cal Ripken about how the streak almost ended. It's the Andy Pollin Show, ESPN 630.
The Andy Pollin Show on ESPN 630, the sports capital.
This is Orioles preview on ESPN 630, brought to you by Sprinkler Fitters Local 669, saving lives and protecting property for over 100 years. Orioles get a win last night, 5-3 in Boston, with the pitching staff getting it done after they were just absolutely clobbered the night before, giving up a dozen runs to Boston. But they used four pitchers, led by Albert Suarez, who went the first 6 innings, gave up only 1 run, and got kudos from manager Brandon Hyde.
Great start. I mean, Albert, can't say enough about what he did. 6 incredible innings. CNL did a nice job. Cano, besides the balk, did a great job. He's had a great year. Cano's been the money in the bank for us. And then Sir Anthony, just with great stuff in the 9th inning. They made it a little interesting there, but with those 3 guys, you take your chances because the stuff is so good.
Yeah, and also they're getting guys back. With all the injuries that they've had, players are coming off the injured list and delivering, which is what happened last night with Cedric Mullins, as he had 2 home runs in the victory. More from Hyde.
Oh, my God. 2 homers, gets us on the board there early, and another big homer. I was happy with our offense. We didn't push quite enough across, but I thought we were doing a better job of keeping the line moving, taking walks, and making those big hits are going to start coming a little bit more often. And as long as we keep getting base runners out there, but Cedric, for the last couple of weeks, has been taking really good at bats, and it was huge for us tonight.
Yeah, first multi-homer game for Mullins since 2021. Also, Adley Rutschman with a 2-run single, which he really needed. Again, he came into the game hitting .203 as he's gone through an extended slump in his career, but has really performed as he did last night. Here's Mullins joining Melanie Newman on the postgame show after his big performance last night.
Yeah, I was able to put some really good swings on the ball today. Really huge boost for the morale in the clubhouse. Suarez did an amazing job out there, keeping them in check, and Adley with a big knock.
Let's talk about that boost for morale. The Yankees also lost tonight. You closed ground again. These 2 have stayed locked this whole time. How much more fun does that make that the second year where you guys are full in on a postseason chase?
Yeah, it's super fun. I think that's what makes each game more exciting. We got to continue to get better, but we're locked in. Great momentum going into the next day.
All right, we got to go back to Albert Suarez here for a minute. He continues to top some career bests. Some of these are 7-year-old accomplishments for him. Comeback Player of the Year, have you ever seen anything like him before?
No, he's done an amazing job. I think he exceeded everyone's expectations. Initially had that fill-in role, but, he's a guy. He's a guy for us.
That's Cedric Mullins last night after delivering the 2 homers in the 5-3 win. Just taking a look quick at the schedule here. The Orioles finish up with the Red Sox today. They got a day off. Then there's 3 against Detroit. They're going to see a lot of Detroit down the stretch. Then they get the Giants for 2 at Camden Yards for 3, from September 17th through the 19th. Then the Tigers again in that last homestand from the 20th to the 22nd. And here's where things get really cool for someone like me who remembers these things. But this series against the Yankees, September baseball, when it used to be winner take all, it's not that anymore. But it's still going to be important for the division because after they get through with all these games with the Tigers, then they go to New York for 3 games from September 24th through the 26th. And if they take 2 out of 3, depending on where they are in the standings, that could be it as they finish up the season in Minnesota. So there's a lot of road games after this game on the 22nd. They got 6 games to finish up, 16 games to go. Yankees have 17. One other thing before we scoot out of here on Orioles preview. David Rubenstein, the new owner of the team, does a TV show on Bloomberg, and he had Cal Ripken on the other night. I've heard many stories about Cal over the years and how this, and I remember how this streak almost ended. I think it was 1994. They were playing a weekend series against Seattle. They had an on-the-field brawl. Cal got caught up in the middle of it. His knee got wrenched, and fortunately for him, they had a day off. It was a Sunday game, so a day off Monday. He wakes up Tuesday. His knee is still sore. He says to his wife, I think I'm going to end the streak. This is before he got to break Lou Gehrig's record. About a year or so before that. And so he was talking about, how he at that point considered ending the streak, and his wife kind of talked him out of it. Like, it was important to her, too. And he continued. He managed to get the soreness out of the knee, came back and played over another year before he broke Gehrig's record. And then, so that was 94, so he played like 4 more years. Didn't end the streak to 98. This is another story that I had not heard before about how an injury almost ended the Cal Ripken streak before he got to Lou Gehrig.
I had a double in, I think it was Seattle, hit a line drive off the wall, came right to the left fielder. I'm running around first base trying to stretch it into a double. You see the throw coming in, it's going to be a little to the inside, so I slide to that side and grab the bag. And my elbow came this way. I mean, it hyperextended. And so I got up and it was hurting. I was thinking, damn, that's serious. So I finished playing in the field, didn't bother me in the field. When I came up to bat the next time, I started to swing the bat, and it really hurt just to swing it easy in the on-deck circle. And I winced in pain, and the trainer came running out and says, what's wrong? And I go, I heard it 2 innings ago. Let me give it a try. So I went up to home plate, and I'm thinking, let me test it out. He throws a breaking ball in the dirt. I chase it in the dirt and wince again. It really hurt bad. The trainer comes running out and says, you sure you're all right? Manager left me in the game. And so then I concentrate a little bit harder. The next pitch comes in. I hit a line drive, 1 hopper at the second baseman, and I realized as I was running to first, when you swing and miss, it hurts like hell. When you make contact, it doesn't hurt at all. So I started focusing on shortening my swing, making sure I got a good pitch to hit, and I got hotter than I'd been. Home runs, doubles, all that kind of stuff.
I'd known that when I was in Little League because I missed a lot of the balls. But let me ask you, do you get tired of people saying to you, you did this record, 2,632 games, and they don't talk about the 19 times you're an All-Star, the most valuable player, World Series. Do you get tired of people just asking about the streak? And what about all the other things you did, or you don't mind people talking about the streak?
I don't mind at all. I mean, you were who you were. Now you look back and all you have is your memories of who you play. Some people would think that it was offensive, that you were a really good shortstop or you were a good offensive player. But I think people do kind of get obsessed with the streak, but it's all part of who you were.
I was interested in that answer because I was fortunate to know the late, great Bobby Mitchell, who was the first African-American player for the Redskins in 1962. And Bobby Mitchell is in the Hall of Fame. He was a great, great player, made the Pro Bowl a bunch of times, and was among the receiving leaders year after year with the Skins. But he and rightly so, had mixed emotions when people would constantly identify him as the first African-American player when he was a great Hall of Fame player. His numbers should have been retired a lot further back than it was. They did it during the George Floyd tragedy as they were trying to spackle over a lot of things in the organization. But, Cal did have 3,000 hits. He was the MVP of the league, I think, twice. He was the MVP of the All-Star game several times. He had a Hall of Fame career, but it's a little bit different. And I guess, when you compare the two between Bobby Mitchell and Cal Ripken, it's an understanding. And had he just had those Hall of Fame numbers and not had the streak, I don't think he would be remembered. He'd certainly be remembered in Baltimore, but wouldn't be remembered across baseball as well as he has been for the streak, which, by the way, is never going to be broken. It's never going to be broken because anytime some guy gets close to like 300 or 400 games, they sit him down. That's just not going to happen anymore. So, you think of unbreakable records. Cal Ripken's streak of 2,620, whatever it is, when he finally ended it in 1998. That's a record that will never be broken. I want to thank Isaac Harris for running the show and joining us today. Also, Catie Griggs, the president of business operations for the Orioles. Thank you for listening. Bram Weinstein's coming up next. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m.